We're going to have some fun on today's episode, have a multitude of topics, but we're going to end up with something a little bit spooky. So listen up on today's episode of the Bill Sang Podcast. I'd like to start off today's program with a question, or I don't know if it's a question, more of a revelation that I had. I've been spending probably more time on social media than what I should, and I came across something that revealed to me the real reason why a Tyrannosaurus Rex cannot clap its hand. And first of all, before getting into that, I have to start off by saying that Tyrannosaurus Rex is not just a giant chicken, okay, people? Tyrannosaurus Rex does not have feathers, cannot have feathers, has never had any proof that it's had feathers, and all the evidence that I've seen from people that have suggested otherwise is nonsense. Okay, so that's out of the way. Tyrannosaurus Rex was a reptile, full-blown reptile, but there is a reason why Tyrannosaurus Rex cannot clap its hands, and it's not for the reason that you think. It's not because Tyrannosaurus Rex had short arms. It's because Tyrannosaurus Rex is currently dead. Okay, so Tyrannosaurus Rex cannot clap its hands because Tyrannosaurus Rex no longer exists, at least as far as I know. Welcome to the Bill Sang Podcast. My name is Bill Sang. I am looking forward to talking to you about a couple different topics here. Most of them just fun. That was one of them, actually, so I can cross that off the list. I just had to share that with you people because I like to brighten your day, give you something to talk about and laugh about and to enjoy. Something, so just set the table for you here real fast. I'm going to talk a little bit about Benjamin Watson just briefly. To tell the truth, I don't even know who Benjamin Watson is, but I saw a picture that one of my friends shared about him and his family, and Andrew Tate had the nerve to respond. It's very fascinating. I am familiar with Andrew Tate. I do not entirely know who he is, except for he's some sort of male influencer, some sort of I think, self-proclaimed alpha male, whatever that means. And also, Godzilla fans, I guess, have some good news or bad news coming up really soon based on your perspective on it. And then I'm going to wrap things up by talking about the spooky world of secularism. This is based on an Answers in Genesis article that I came across within the past day or two, which I found to be very fascinating, but also very true. So let's launch right into it. I have no idea how long we're going to take today, but we're going to see. So starting off, Benjamin Watson. Does anybody know who Benjamin Watson is? It sounds like a very familiar name. He's got to be like a football player or baseball player or somebody in the military. I'm guessing Benjamin Watson is was probably a player for the NFL. That's a real football name for you, Benjamin Watson. And Benjamin Watson, all he did, whoever he is, I don't care who he is, he posted something online, a picture of him and his family, him, his wife, and I counted 7 kids. Does he have 7 kids? I don't know. Maybe there's more. There's a lot of people in the photo. But it looked like there was him, his wife, and 7 kids. And then, and all he posted on that was he posted that picture and said, more than a conqueror. Okay, so he's citing a biblical passage, and clearly he's just undergirding this photo with his faith. That's all he was doing. He was simply posting a photo showing that, hey, I've got a wonderful, awesome family, bunch of kids, beautiful wife, and I'm just posting more than a conqueror in respect that God is the one who has blessed me with these things. That's my interpretation of it, at least. Andrew Tate, for some reason, he's apparently one of these people who's so insecure about himself that he cannot just simply keep his mouth shut and scroll down past this beautiful post. It's a beautiful post. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good post. And Andrew Tate, again, this self-proclaimed alpha male, posted underneath it, get this, if those children are all from the same woman, you are not a conqueror. Can you believe that? And yet people are following not Benjamin Watson. People are following Andrew Tate. He's got an enormous following. And this guy, I can't believe that somebody would be so disgusting. Some people have gotten so far on the wrong path. I don't care how successful Andrew Tate is. If you think that establishing a family, a big family, small family, whatever, one man, one woman, and the kids belong to them, and you think there's something wrong with that, I'm sorry, they are not the problem. You are the problem. You have insecurities inside of yourself that say that you can't just have a spouse, but rather, I don't even really understand the mentality. I don't even know how to get into the mentality. It is a ludicrous mentality, but for a man and a woman to build a family where everyone loves each other and everyone's getting along and everybody's healthy and everybody's serving God, oh my goodness, how can you say that Benjamin Watson is doing something wrong, whoever he is, when he's got 7 kids by the same woman and they love each other? Andrew Tate, wow. I tell you what, I think that you're redefining beta male. Maybe that's a mean thing to say. Don't tell anybody that I said that, but I think that's a horrible, horrible thing to say about anybody, that if they have a beautiful family with all the kids from one woman and having one father, by the way, that is somehow not commendable. I don't understand where that comes from. March the 1st. Okay, as you know, I am a big Godzilla fan. I have my best Godzilla movies list on my website, williamhseng.com. You can check that out. I rank all of the live action ones. I don't rank any of the ones that are animated because I have not seen the animated movies myself. I'll get around to it one day maybe, but big Godzilla fan myself. And I've seen articles with opposing headlines. The first one I came across said that March 1st is going to be a good day for Godzilla fans. I open up the article, I look at it, and I agree. It's a good day for Godzilla fans, March 1st, I guess. I mean, if that's your thing. Namely, that Godzilla 2014 is going to be released, I believe, on Tubi, a free streaming service. So Godzilla 2014, the first one in the MonsterVerse and the legendary Godzilla series, is going to be released on Tubi on March the 1st. And the article went on to list also that it said Gamera. What does it mean by Gamera? I don't know if it means like all the Gamera movies or a certain Gamera movie or whatever, but it said Godzilla 2014. It said that Gamera, and then it said the infamous Godzilla 98. So Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla 98, but I don't recall seeing any others, so I'm kind of confused why it is they're saying it's a good day. I mean, yeah, it's cool, whatever. I mean, I'm a Godzilla fan, and I consider a good day for Godzilla fans to be that they released all Godzilla movies on Tubi for free. Maybe they're moving that direction. I think that'd be great if they did, but again, I'm a Godzilla fan, so that's just what I think. I like being able to find... There's a lot of Godzilla movies. That's why. It's not because I'm a cheapskate. It's because there are a lot of Godzilla movies, and getting your hands on all of those, and plus... now, with all the different streaming services, it is really hard to watch all of the Godzilla movies in one place. So, Tubi, get back to me when you got all of them. But the next article I read that I saw, and I didn't even bother to open it, is said that March the 1st is going to be a bad day for Godzilla fans. And I looked at it, and I'm like, huh. Okay, so is March the 1st going to be a good day? Or is it going to be a bad day? I didn't even bother opening it because the cover photo told me everything that I needed to know. It was a promotional photo of Godzilla's foot in the middle of Manhattan and military forces surrounding it. And it's an oversized Godzilla foot, by the way. And so I know what it's about. Any Godzilla fan can tell you what that's about. In fact, they kind of wasted an article there because March the 1st is also the release date of Godzilla 98 on Tubi. Why is that a bad day for Godzilla fans? Well, because it was wildly unpopular. Frankly, I like Godzilla 98. And unlike most people, I do call it a Godzilla movie. Now, if I'm in a conversation, I say, you know what? If you watch the animated series, we all tended at the time when we saw Godzilla the animated series to say that the Godzilla in the Godzilla the animated series is Godzilla. He possessed similar powers, some of the same powers as the original Godzilla. In Godzilla 98, he did not have his atomic breath, though, and because of that, a lot of people say that no, it's not a Godzilla movie, but I would argue that if you call Godzilla animated series Godzilla, then you must consider Godzilla 98 to be Godzilla. Because Godzilla, the animated series, is the same creature from Godzilla 98. And because of that, it's like, okay, well, you can't say that one's Godzilla and the other one isn't. I mean, you can, but you're being kind of weird if you are. I mean, this is my take on it. It's a different spin on Godzilla. I understand what Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich were doing to an extent. I don't know why they decided to go about making a Godzilla movie that totally transformed the title character. Nonetheless, I would say that March 1st, in my opinion, is going to be a really good day for Godzilla fans, but still, they need to impress me a little bit more by releasing the rest of the Godzilla movies onto me on this free streaming platform so that I can have access to all of them whenever I want. Because I am selfish, I am spoiled, and that is my demand. Having said that, okay, so main topic of today. This article from Answers in Genesis. I liked it. I kind of skimmed through it. I don't like reading whole articles because sometimes there's a lot of stuff inside of articles. I hate the common way that most platforms write articles. Because the way they start off is the first 2 or 3 or 4 paragraphs are simply to introduce the topic, not give you an answer to what the headline's all about, give you 2 or 3 paragraphs of, maybe more, of just background information. And then finally, somewhere inside of the article, they finally get to the point of the article. And by that time, I'm just like, okay, I don't even know that I can continue reading because it's annoying. Answers in Genesis isn't so bad about that anymore. I think they do a pretty good job. And their topic was how the world is increasingly secular. Well, maybe not increasing, but how it's secular and spooky. Those two words don't go together very well, you would think. It's kind of ironic that that's the direction that we go when we talk about secular. And there's a reason for why they say that. I'll get into that in a minute. But what I found fascinating is the article they were citing, because they were basing their article off of somebody else's article that was talking about that something is happening with Christianity right now. Namely, inside of Christianity, there is a lot of energy inside of the movement of the kingdom of God. People are curious about Christianity. You know, all this stuff about Christian nationalism with Donald Trump has kind of backfired on the left and in the secular world, because now people are saying, you know what, if Christian nationalism is the alternative to the insanity that we are experiencing with all these crazy policies and crazy censorships that were happening under the past administration, give us Christian nationalism. Now, I'm not saying that myself, because I understand what Christian nationalism is. And, you know, I mean, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are some actually good elements to Christian nationalism. But that's not to say that you should be a Christian nationalist per se. But there are some actually, when you get down to real Christian nationalism, there are some good elements to it that I'm not necessarily opposed to, but I'm not a Christian nationalist. But it's made a lot of people curious about what Christianity is. And in fact, the news media, they define Christian nationalism as this absurd belief that these Christian nationalists believe that their rights come from God and not from government. Can you believe that? The answer, well, yeah. Christians have believed that rights come from God and not from government since the dawn of time. I mean, for Christians as an establishment, so to speak, we believe that since Jesus. Jesus gives us our rights, okay? God gives us our rights. So what's so spooky about secularism, okay? Well, what they were saying is that because of secularism that was hip and cool and, you know, had a huge, strong movement for a little while, drawing lots of people to their cause. One of the people I listen to calls it the edgy atheists of YouTube from way back when. And they had a lot of energy. They caught a lot of people's attention. They were very effective in criticizing Christianity. Not legitimately, but they're effective at doing it, at getting the criticisms of Christianity out into the mainstream. Nonetheless, they've lost a lot of energy. And what has happened over time is that people have said about secularism, not necessarily said, but the way they've felt at least, is that it's lacking. Okay? There's not a lot of substance to secularism. I mean, I can't remember the guy's name. I always come up with it after a little bit, but there's a particular guy that was the editor of the Skeptic magazine or whatever that always say, atheism is not a belief. It is about not believing in something. And so you ask him questions, okay, well, what does atheism believe about this? What does atheism believe? Well, atheism isn't a belief. Well, atheism is the belief that God does not exist. Okay, that is what atheism is. It's the belief that God does not exist. So don't play these word games with us that it's not a belief. It absolutely is a belief. It is a belief that the material universe is all that there is, and it's been found lacking. So people now, if you were or are or were trending toward atheism, odds are you probably started dabbling in things that maybe you shouldn't have dabbled in, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. One of those things would be drugs. And what people are realizing through their experimentation with drugs is that, oddly enough, I mean, you hear this from Joe Rogan and Aaron Rodgers, people along their lines, that they believe that their involvement with certain drugs has tapped them into the spiritual world. Oh my goodness, that is horrifying. But it is not beyond the pale, because we've known this for an awfully long time, that drugs that affect your mind are actually going to put you in touch with very bizarre forces, very bizarre entities. And the entities that you're getting involved with are not God, but rather, I would argue, evil spirits, the demonic. And so, yes, atheism, and the answers in Genesis didn't necessarily go down that road, but people have seen inside of the secular ideology that it lacks meaning, it lacks purpose, and lacks hope. Now, those were the words of the article. I'm going to add one more. It lacks truth. Because if you are a secularist, you basically have to promote the idea that in terms of morality and these other things, there is no truth. And the truth is subjective as far as it comes to law and morality, ethics, so forth. That whatever culture decides is good and evil because there is no solid good and evil. That is what it teaches. But when you juxtapose that against the reality of the universe, that we look at something as simple as gravity. On planet Earth, what goes up must come down. When we put that up against, I don't know why we always use 2 plus 2, but 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay, well, if we accept 2 plus 2 equals 4, we accept the existence of gravity. Well, that's truth. I mean, it's material, but it's truth. Well, 2 plus 2 equals 4, actually, when you think about it. In some respects, it isn't material. In some respects, it is, but in some respects, it's not. But it's truth, nonetheless. And if there is such thing as truth along those lines, then why not metaphysical truths? Why not truths that go beyond our senses? And so secularism has come up very short. I also want to touch on the inherent spookiness of secularism, because there is absolutely a creepiness about the non-believing world in terms of not believing in anything supernatural. Yes, when you get into the occult and things like that, people that actually follow that stuff and believe in that stuff and practice that, that's about as creepy as you get. Secularism isn't too far behind. secularism professes that nothing is sacred, therefore everything is doable. I remember reading in Richard Dawkins' The God Delusion that he and his friends had eaten placenta together. Ugh. Eaten placenta together as a group. And it's like, you people are weird. But think about it. Nothing to stop them from doing that. They don't have a moral compass to say, hey, this is cannibalism, I shouldn't do it. No, they wanted to prove that that nothing is sacred, and what's more sacred in a physical sense than human life? And yeah, the placenta is not human life, but it is it's human tissue per se. I don't know if I got the terminology right necessarily, but I mean they said that that essentially the placenta is the blueprints for making your clone. I want to say he even called it like whoever was born and whoever's placenta it was, that it essentially was their clone, so to speak. I don't know. I don't know the science all that deeply about it, but nonetheless, essentially what they're saying. I mean, Dawkins used the term cannibalism himself, and that's a very creepy thing to say. That I was cannibalizing human tissue. So yeah, what of it? Again, that's really weird. But if you're like me, I've dabbled. I've gotten away from watching what I would call horror movies. I like a good scary movie from time to time. I make a distinction, though. I like monster movies, really. I really like just watching movies about, I'm a Godzilla fan, for crying out loud. I like movies about dinosaurs and creatures and things like that. Giant monsters, I like that sort of thing particularly. But a lot of the horror genre, it's either flat out occultish or it is very secular. For instance, let me give you an example. The movie 30 Days a Night, is that what it's called? I think it was called 30 Days or 40 Days, whatever it was. It was that old vampire movie set in Alaska where the sun goes down and there's this long period of over a month of darkness. The vampires come out. And essentially, when you're watching the movie, there's lots of indications inside of it. Now, the creators of the movie don't believe in God. Is that the case? I don't know, but I remember there was a scene where a woman is calling out to God, and the vampire shushes her, points up, and then shakes his head as though saying, nope, no God up there. And how creepy. And it's also predicated on this idea of that anger and cruelty and brutality is the nature of the world. Now, I won't argue that from against my Christian perspective. My Christian perspective says that is the fallen world. But atheism seems to celebrate that. You look at somebody like Karl Marx, who celebrates just this wicked, wicked way of seeing life and seeing the world and how to do politics and economics. I mean, it is amazing how dark these people are that profess that there is no God, is no ultimate truth. So all in all, what I'm getting at here is that, yes, that secularism on multiple levels. I mean, you see some of these other ones, like somehow I got conned into seeing the first 3 Saw movies, okay? The first one, I don't know what I think about it from an overall point of view as far as the messaging and all that. An interesting point, I suppose, maybe. But it's very gratuitous brutality and gore, more or less. And I really don't encourage anybody to see. There's nothing really good to ponder about. I mean, the best thing that comes out of watching those movies is, how far would I go to save my life? I'd rather ponder about how far would I go to save somebody else's life, quite frankly. But the question that the movies beg is, how far would I go to save my life? But that is the realm that secularism traverses into, is just this whole idea of self-preservation, brutality, cruelty, that the ends justifies the means and so forth. And it's a very, very creepy, very, very spooky sort of ideology that leads to even spookier ideologies, because once you realize that, wow, this stuff is all meaningless, and you start either experimenting with drugs that put you in touch with some really evil things, or if you just get tired of just the pointlessness of it all, and then you start checking out those things on your own accord. It's a very spooky ideology. It's a very empty ideology. And thank God for Jesus Christ coming into the world, revealing himself to us so that we don't have to deal in the darkness. We don't have to wonder about the existence of God, but we know of the existence of God. He's made him known to us in the person of Jesus Christ. And not only has he made him known, he has also made it known that God is personal, that God loves you and wants you to give your life to him. He loves you so much that he wants to have a personal relationship with you through his son, Jesus Christ, so that you can dwell with him for all eternity. Real quick, before I forget, I have a quick shout out to my friend Daniel Pinnell, who wrote the theme song for this episode, and also I'm going to post a link for his music in the description below. But also I'm going to give a shout out as well to the other theme song that we have, and that is from Otto, Mercer, and Albright. At the beginning of this song, I can't remember, I think it's called Sweet Little Mama is the theme song. The other theme song that's in this episode as well, and they've been allowing me to use this work for quite some time now, and I'm very grateful to these guys. They're incredible, they're awesome, and their music is fantastic. So again, thank you for joining me. This is the Bill Singh Podcast. Be blessed. The life, the way. Mountains bow down, the seas lift